What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team in 2022 and 2021, we reach out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around 100,000 fathers. I can say 100,000 fathers around the world. So as always, blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. Black Alicia, especially when we're talking about Black Canada Talking. And what's Black Canada Talking? It's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. So we're broadcasting live today on July 9th. It is warm in Toronto. And our friend that's coming back today said he was thinking about doing this on the porch today, but he said, it's a little warm. So he's indoors enjoying the air conditioning, but he is bringing the heat. As always, Perry Douglas. He's the founder of Douglas Blackwell. Since its inception, Douglas Blackwell has been totally focused on building strategy through intelligence-based research and relentless iteration. He believes that personal responsibility, self-reliance, determination, and empathy, underpinned by courage and a willingness to venture away from the herd. Finding your individuality, your entrepreneurial drive, gives one the best shot at succeeding during their twinkle of an existence in the universe. He is happily married to a wonderful human being, the best wife in the world, he says, and blessed with 3 children. His family is the whole purpose of his existence. So we're blessed to have Perry back today, and he's going to be talking about 2 recent articles he wrote about AI. The first one, the problem with AI humanity and the case for applied intelligence, and then also the problem with AI part 2, AI, VCs, and humanity. So let's welcome back to Black Canada Talking, Perry Douglas. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. Just enjoying the Sunday afternoon. Grateful to be around talking to you.
Absolutely, and I've really appreciated the conversations we have and continue to have around subjects of importance to not only our melanated melanated Canadians, but melanated people around the world. What's been going? Like the last time we had you on, you were doing your book had come out. How's the book doing?
The book's doing good. I one of the things I have to do is a little bit more marketing, and so trying to manage your business and marketing for the book is a little tough, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to get up on my social media.
I've
Build my
noticed, like
YouTube
when I
channel.
first met you, you didn't have an Instagram
I didn't
account.
have.
You got one now. I'm going, what?
I didn't even. I'm like, didn't have Instagram, nothing. But now, you know what? I absolutely have to, and I'm pretty positive, about the book. I've been getting some, good comments on it. It's done well in the UK. I've been getting a lot of, people basically saying this is, applied intelligence. This is the only way the Caribbean is going to do it. So the good thing about social media, selling it and self-publishing and selling it on Amazon is that I can reach the world, right?
Nice.
So that's so it's been going okay.
Excellent. Before we go any further, a little housekeeping we do, as always. If you're up to it, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, well, let's get right into it. You did these 2 wonderful articles about AI.
Yeah.
What spark? Well, obviously it's everywhere these days.
Yeah.
Why these articles at this time?
Yeah. So, part of it too is my business in the sense that part of what we do is research and analysis and enterprise engineering and things like that, and we use data science, algorithms, AI when necessary. But one of the things is that whenever new technology comes on board, we can have a pretty high excitement to it without really understanding what it is. And if there's something that sparked my interest to write the article, is when the I don't know if you remember the scientist Jeffrey Hinton, who's actually a professor at the University of Toronto. Yeah, he left Google saying
Mm-hmm.
that that AI is he's like they call him the godfather of
AI, yeah.
AI. Yeah. So he left saying, God, it's going to ruin AI is going to ruin humanity. It's uncontrollable, all these things. But you know me, it's applied intelligence. I dig deeper, right? I never listen to the highlight. I do my research. And, what I really concluded based on, his research coming out of the 70s and Google is that he didn't leave, Google from some great sense of morality or some sense of, he has to warn the world or whatnot. Don't forget, you know, he got millions of dollars from Google, so Google kind of bought him over. So
He's
he's
good.
absolutely fine. He's good. Why he left is because the whole basis of AI is what his research is basically being the godfather of AI is called neural networks. So in short, the theory behind neural networks is for AI to act and think just like a human thinks, right? Just for the same way your biology, your neurons and everything, the same way your biology works, your brain chemistry and all that, the way that works is the basis of what he's saying, where AI is going to be smarter than everybody else, be smarter than humans. It's going to, he made a statement, I think back in 2016, that AI will get rid of all radiologists. Well, since then there's been 400 radiology related startups. All have essentially failed, and no radiologists have lost their jobs. In fact, there's a shortage because people are thinking, well, AI is going to take our jobs, and all these particular statements. And in 2021, he made a statement, basically saying AI. It's clear that AI is going to be smarter than humans and overtake humans within the next 5 and 10 years. And now that was in 2021. Now in 2023, he's basically, I'm out, right? I'm out because really the science or the math, okay, based on the theory is one thing, but practicality and actually execute it is another thing. So what we are finding now is that with the for example, with the advent of ChatGPT, everybody's run to ChatGPT saying it can do this, it can do that. Well, in reality, ChatGPT, quote unquote, doesn't know what it's talking about. So essentially, what it does, it just makes stuff up. Because what has happened in AI is people believe for some reason that you type in something into ChatGPT and like magic, it'll give you the right answer. All this thing called deep learning and machine learning it's a predictor of the next word, right? So that, like, when you type in on your iPhone or whatever you use, it the next word sort of comes up.
Yeah.
So what they have is massive data sets, data. So AI can only work off the data. So this whole thing about AI being smarter than humans live in the cognitive world. They can survey the landscape. So when they speak and when they talk and when we ask questions, there's a whole we're experience based thinkers and communicators. So our words and everything is based on their experience and everything. So there's nuance to it that AI can't do. So AI, basically, if the data is not there, okay, it's not going to necessarily formulate what you want. But my big concern is that more and more people are sort of worshiping it, believing it, that it's going to take their job, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and not actually living and understanding. You have choices in your life in terms of what you're going to do. And every time a piece of technology, whether social media or whatnot, comes out, we blindly just jump to it. So, for example, this week, Zuckerberg over at Meta, Facebook, he came out, and good for him, you know, as a businessman, he came out and took advantage of the terrible job Elon Musk has done in terms of, you know, when he took over Twitter. But if you read what Zuckerberg said, all Threads is Instagram with no pictures, but a text version of Instagram. So nothing has really changed. But what I'm trying to point out is that we are now being led by a few billionaires and a few corporations that's telling us how to think, how to behave, right? So first day, 30 million downloads. Okay, well, okay, you know, fine if you want that. But my point is, you know, you have to look at technology for what it is. It's a tool that should enhance human value. And if you go back 1,000 years in history, right, every technological innovation, from, you know, agriculture and food processing, you know, biomedical, whatever it is, has enhanced and improved, you know, people's lives. It has always made things better. It has always expanded economies, and it's always created more value for humans. But now where we're going is we're going to a world where technology is gonna essentially looks like it's gonna replace humans. And we're doing this to ourselves. So what I mean by uncontrollable AI, when you put too much dependency on technology, subconsciously it begins to run your life and control your life. All those people don't understand when they you know, on Facebook has cognitive, really what they are addictive algorithms. And you are doing things, you're liking things, or you're reading things, and there's information specifically for how Facebook identifies you, and you rely on that to see your universe, right? So I'm basically saying people have to understand technology is a tool to help you, but don't worship technology and don't allow it to control your life. Use it for what it is. And that's what I in the beginning of the first article, I talked about Plato and Aristotle. And, you know, I started at, you know, Plato's one thing, I won't go too much into it, and Aristotle is another. So we have to be more Aristotle-like as opposed to more, you know, Plato-like, searching for the impossible.
Okay, excellent. And as you mentioned it, I'm going to put up the first article here. And one of the nice things that you've done in this article, and I think it's a really good, is for many people, they don't know what AI is. So can
Okay,
you
yeah.
give a good definition, workable
Okay.
definition of what is AI?
Yep. Well, thanks. You're going to help me because I'm going to see what I wrote there.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. And Noam Chomsky, I talk about the impossible language. I think the definition of AI is somewhere up there, right? I'm going to look at my big screen over here.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put it. I see it here.
Wherever you see it,
Yes,
show
so
me.
you're saying natural. You start with natural intelligence, like what either humans or honeybees have. Both brains appear to have neuroplasticity, which
Yes.
means that the brain is capable. So, if you can go a little
Yes.
bit deeper on that.
Yeah. Perfect. So you see, the brain is elastic, right? The brain can create its own experiences and create its own communication and create what it's trying to say, what it's trying to achieve in real time, in milliseconds, right? So if you see a fast car coming your way, you're in that second decide you're going to move to this side of the street, that side of the street. Oh no, there's a girl coming. There's a whole bunch of things that the human brain can do, trillions of there's trillions of connections and calculations that the brain can do, right? So the brain relies on its past experiences, its own data, but the brain also relies on what it sees in front of it. Okay. Applied intelligence is not really intelligent. It's very narrow, and it's only the data that it essentially can rely on. So Noam Chomsky, MIT professor, big name, linguistics or whatnot, calls deep learning the impossible language. And what he means by that is we're going on two paths: the path of general intelligence, which humans have, which essentially we can do a lot, we can do everything. AI is not smart on us. And then we have what he calls the impossible language, which is what deep learning, when you hear the terms deep learning, machine learning, it's not really deep learning or anything. It's just more layers and more layers and more layers of data. That's all it is. It's not learning anything. It's just more and more data piled up. And the more data you have, the belief is that, the better answers you can get, and it can come close to human intelligence, but it can't. So what happens now is that, he calls it the impossible language. And so there's two languages happening right now. The human language, which is general intelligence, right? How humans communicate or whatnot. And now there's machine language, which he calls the impossible language, because it's not a language. It's just basically data sets, right? It's not a free language. So what happens now, you have a world where if we are relying so much on deep learning, that impossible language, everything we do is not going to be based on our humanity or how we see the universe. Is going to be the version of how deep learning and the machine language, that impossible language, sees the universe. And then what will happen now is that we will have to adapt to the machine, right? As opposed to the machine becoming, enhancing us. So how we see the universe, at the end of the day, I think I pulled it out. How we see the universe is based, how the machine sees the universe is based on the data sets and who's programming it, right? And the big problem that we get into, especially for Black folks, is just young white guys doing everything, and their biases are built in to the machine. So, for example, right, in my research, I was literally knocked off my chair when I read this. So in all Twitter, so I go and I get all the data research and all. So in Tesla, right, in their cars, Tesla's, Elon Musk has been saying for the longest time, yeah, we're going to have all these drivable cars. No, Tesla can't cross the road against an accident, right? So Tesla now, the machine language, right? The machine is very good at recognizing humans if a human is crossing the road. But guess what? It is terrible at recognizing dark-skinned humans. Think about that for a second. No, just think about that for a second, right? It is because it's all about the data, what is fed. So the machine gets layers and layers of data. So for example, if you search, and I think I have it in there too, if you search for a CEO, 99% is going to be a white male. And right. If you search for a tech CEO, most likely it'll be Elon Musk, because he basically just is all over the news. And that's where the machine gets his information from. It gets his data. So if all you're seeing is white males, so you're going to say, hey, a CEO is a white male. So if young kids, young Black kids look up CEO, they're going to see it's a white male. If they look up CEO in tech or whatnot, you're going to see Elon Musk, only because, right, he is so much dominated in the data sets. So what is important is, particularly for Black folks, if we are not participating, if we are not at the table of the decision making in regards to AI, we will put ourselves in a position of irrelevancy in the world. So you think racism is bad? Okay, you think we have problems now. The problems will really come in when we become irrelevant, because if we are living in a world where it's the machine itself is how we make decisions and decide, that's the standard, right? Then who's programming the machines? Who owns the corporations controls the universe. So who controls the data controls the universe. And right now, the universe is controlled by a few white billionaires, and all the startup companies, basically everything in AI is about machine learning and all that kind of stuff. And that's who controls the universe. There's no interest in diversity. There's no interest in anything. And if we're not at that table, if we're not participating, then we don't exist. And that's the scary part for Black folks.
Okay. Let me ask, are there, through your lens, are there any good aspects of AI that either melanated people can take advantage of now?
Excellent. You know what? That's an excellent question. First of all, AI is great technology. It's good technology, but it's how you see it and how you use it. I see it as a tool. I don't worship AI.
Right.
But your question about for Black people, I can't think of any, man. And it's sad to say because
Wow.
think about it for a second, right? AI and machine and deep learning is about data, right? It's about, that information world is about data.
Yep.
So if we are not participating in creating companies, running companies, scientific research, it is only natural for the young, grad student programming. When they program, it's a human program in the machine. All the natural biases will be there, and I point that out. I show several studies there. So for Black people right now, we're secondary, not even secondary, right? Because if you go and search up, like I said, CEO, doctors, whatever, you're not going to see Black people because somebody has to program that in there. Somebody has to say, look for that in there. You know what I mean? And the way the world works, no one's thinking about that. And it's not even their fault because your natural biases flow into that. So we have to be in positions where our natural biases flow in there, right? But if we're not at the table, if you think AI, uncontrollable AI is scary for humanity, it's terrifying for Black folks, and we don't understand that. We're sitting there, we're using it, and we are subconsciously adhering to a white supremacy culture, subconsciously, and we are believing all these things are good, and we are trying to live to a standard set by others as opposed to a standard set by ourselves, right? It's pretty scary. AI will increase inequality, okay, because there's no way to fight against it once it's in the system.
You don't picture, well, how this is no different than a lot of things, though, because you look at the technology space, mostly dominated by non-melanated males.
Yep.
This comes out, the AI ChatGPT is from
Yep.
a probably mostly non-melanated lens.
Yep.
So this is just par for the course, don't you think?
AI is a supernova reflection of society. That's what it is. It's a reflection of society. So what you're saying is 100% true, but it's a hyper dangerous because it's like, think about it, right? If you go back in time and if you look at history and look at propaganda, even if you look at the Bible in terms of how they've used it and who sets the narrative, it's about who sets the narrative, right? So if you're not in the narrative in AI, then to the machine, you don't exist or you're irrelevant, or, so more and more in the world of sort of uncontrollable AI, or in the world where people use AI standards, people will just think what AI has and the data sets that are there and what's the deep learning, the machine learning, that is the norm, right?
I just want to interrupt quickly. We're doing a little bit of a part of this broadcast on Instagram Live. Want to say shout out to you, Guerriere. Ulysses, what is up? Also, Surf Your Life, Frequency Event Promotions. We're chatting here on Black Canada Talking with Perry Douglas about two of his most recent articles, The Problem with AI and The Problem with AI Part 2. So, hey, on Instagram, if you have any questions or any comments about AI, have you used it? Are you going to use it? Do you like it? Are you afraid of it? Have you used ChatGPT? Is it a good thing? Is it not a good thing? And Perry just said that he doesn't see any positive attributes for AI for melanated people. And I'm a little taken back by that, because can't even just for an information aspect, generic, isn't that good for like melanated people? Like,
yeah. No, listen, like I said, technology is good for from an information perspective for you to do your work. It is good for me. It is good for the next person. It's good for everybody. What I'm specifically talking about is the representation of Black people in AI. I'm not talking about, like, if I'm a scientist. So if I'm a scientist and I want to use AI and I want to use data sets, the science is the science. So whether I'm Black, green, red, or yellow, technology is good. Data science is good. AI is good. What I'm talking about now is when you use AI, and I'm talking about uncontrollable AI, to make decisions about in society and to make decisions in healthcare, make decisions in mental health, okay, make decisions in social programs, make decisions in criminal justice, right? When you in those particular things, because we don't have a seat at the table, and because we're not aware of the so-called deep learning and the data sets and who's writing the programs, who's writing the code, which builds in personal bias.
Mhm.
In those areas, because we're not at the table, okay, I don't see a benefit for for Black people from a socio-economic perspective.
Right. Right.
That's what I mean. So the only way we can change that, right, is we have to change that by it's a long-term plan, a long-term program. We have to change that by getting into entrepreneurship, getting into technologies. There has to be one or two, Black billionaire CEOs, and I'm trying to get there with my software. But the thing about it, if we're not participating, because somebody has to make the decisions on the on what's important, what's a priority or whatnot, right?
Right.
And then when you hand that power over, when that person gives the machines instructions to do that, then the machine can run well with that. But if at the base level, the base data feeds at the base level, if it does not include any, enough data, enough information to make Black people relevant, then in fact, yes, we don't exist in the world of uncontrollable AI.
Okay. Back again, Instagram people, you are out viewing my other platforms, which is great. Frequency Event Promotions, hello. Again, Ulysses, hello. Sugary_brown girl, surf your life. Have some comments here off of Instagram. Frequency Event Promotions says great session yesterday. Yes. State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala last night. And Dr. Tachi was amazing. It was incredible. Surf Your Life says, I've used it. Surf Your Life says, yeah, I use it for work. Yes, I agree. The representation for us, or lack of representation for us, but we are always being exploited, so we're not surprised.
Yep, sure.
Also, but Ulysses asks on Instagram, everything in moderation, can it help to elevate us?
The only thing, here's the thing, right? The problem we've had, I would say for Black people since the 60s, in regards to African independence, Caribbean independence, civil rights movements, all these things. Since then, all right, and I think moving into more from the 80s or whatnot, we've become too dependent on other things and other people to move ourselves forward. The only thing that's going to move us forward is if we take action, okay, and get involved in the system. We can't. There's no alternative universe or alternative world that Black people could go to that will make us succeed. We got to live. This is the world that we have to live in. We have to engage in entrepreneurship. We have to engage. So we have to be long-term in thinking. That means strong families. That means education in the math and sciences, in the social sciences, becoming entrepreneurship. And the biggest thing in our community too, and it's also, some of the so-called, Black elite, we don't invest in each other. Okay. In the Jewish community, what happens, and I know this well, okay, because in Montreal, I grew up in that community. I went to school in that, and I have tons of friends. And in business, when I was at RBC, and when I was at UBS, wealth management, I had a lot of Jewish clients, and I realized what they do. It's a system. So if you want to build a business, you'll go and meet a few, this cousin, that friend, or whatnot. You'll go and meet a few other Jewish people, and if they like your idea, they'll invest in your business. If you're looking for finance, they'll find another Jewish person to help you with the finance. If you want a lawyer, a doctor, they sort of keep it in the tribe. And I said a good ex-client of mine, told me it's all about your tribe. You gotta support your tribe. So what happens, we have to be self-reliant, self-sustainable. We have to invest in each other, and we have to build businesses. And when you build businesses, you create wealth. And when you create wealth, you create power, right? And it has to be long-term. And it's not going to happen by all these, since George Floyd, all these, nonprofit, that. It's not going to happen. There's a natural order to capitalism. There's a natural order, right, to success and wealth. It's called investing. And investing is a long-term affair, and it takes time to bear fruit. When you plant a tree, it doesn't grow tomorrow, okay? For you to benefit from that tree, and for your family and your community and your country, whatever, to benefit from that, you have to make an investment, you have to nurture it, and we have to work together to do it. That's how all other cultures succeed. But for some reason in our community, we don't do that. And why? Is because our minds is essentially being programmed to sort of, I hate to say, what's white is right, okay? And we won't essentially invest in each other. So we have to look internally at ourselves and say, it's not about what the white man is doing or this man is doing, is what are we doing? What are we doing as Black men? What are we doing as Black women? What are we doing? Where do we want to be? And how do we want to get there? And that's actually the whole basis of applied intelligence. What do we have to do by using our intelligence, not our emotion, to get from point A to point B? And once you have that logically figured out, execute it. And I think that's the only way it's going to happen. This is a long-term thing.
Yeah. Make a decision, take action.
Exactly. Simple as that.
On Instagram Live, because that's where the energy is happening. Thank you for the hearts, by the way. Surf Your Life says agree. Ulysses says, if we're not at the table, we are on the menu. Well, you're on the table and on the menu, right? On
the chopping block.
On the chart. Sanko Fein Cipher. I hope I got that right. If I did, it's my head, not my heart. Is Angeline come in, join. Herc's Remedy join, and also says, grand evening. We are here talking with Perry Douglas about his two recent articles, The Problem with AI and The Problem with AI Part 2. If you're on Instagram, we're not going to be on for the whole conversation. So once I leave, you can catch the rest of the conversation live or on replay, at the YouTube channel, the Dr. Vibe Show. And I also put it up here on the screen if you want to subscribe. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And also, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. But keep the conversation and questions coming. IG, wherever you're watching this live on the replay, appreciate it. Perry, when you wrote this article, was it a difficult article to write? Articles to write, sorry.
Yeah, it was difficult in a sense. And I have one more article, which is sort of wrapping it up, and saying, here's the direction we should go. It was difficult because, when you're reading facts, okay, I don't become susceptible to fads, or not that AI is a fad, but to everybody, the herd. When the herd moves in one direction, the herd moves in a direction. So it's hard to go against the herd, but truth, right, and facts speak loudly, and they're stubborn. So yeah, it's hard because you realize what is really happening, and you realize, in my new article, I call it, the rise of the aristocracy, with the tech billionaires and or whatnot, back in the 1700s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, where sort of the aristocracy, essentially a few businesses, and everybody else was barred out, controlled the universe. Well, think about it right now. Who controls the universe? Facebook, Microsoft, Google, right? Elon Musk.
Yep.
And I don't, it's a simple thing for me. This is hard. I don't want some right-wing nut job like Elon Musk telling me how many characters I can express myself in. Okay. I am not going to let anybody tell me how to think or tell me how to behave. Okay. And just because technology is out there, I am not going to be a part of the herd and be like, oh, well, we got to use. No, you have to make decisions for yourself. You have to have a set of principles that guide your life. Okay. And I'm not gonna be like, well, you know what? Throw my hands up and sort of join the masses. So it's tough, but you know what? Sometimes doing the right thing is tough, or what you believe. Like, I mean, you don't have to believe what I believe, but for me, my personal, my personal management system of how I manage and live my life. This is how I feel, and I express it in my writing.
Let me ask you this conversation piece. How come we're not hearing anything or hardly anything from melanated so-called leaders about this subject in
Simple,
your from your lens?
because they're not leaders. Okay,
Oh,
they're
okay.
not leaders. Okay, leaders have to have a couple things: courage and vision, right? And they don't, if they have if you have a vision, well, then you need the courage to go out and say what you need to say. What is happening in this world today, particularly for Black people in terms of leadership? I find that Black people who may have a little bit of success, they want to build idols to themselves. They want to build an organization. They want to build, whatever, to give themselves awards in order, to say they're doing something. But when you look behind the scenes, what are they doing? Nothing, right? And I'm going to give you an example because my now good friend Roger, who I
Roger
have enough
Dundas
respect
of buyblacks.com.
for, I have enough respect for him and his wife Camille. We had a conversation. You remember that article I wrote, "Winter is Coming," right?
Yes.
And Roger was telling me, what you wrote in that article, everything has come true. I said, really? Because I'm not even paying attention to that cat. But the whole point of building this thing with the CEO pledge, where you walk around to CEOs on Bay Street, get them to pledge to hire Black people. Roger told me if you go on Black North's website, that thing is totally gone. It's no longer there, because it wasn't about vision and courage and leadership. It was about, look at me. Okay, I'm successful. I have money. Look, here I am. Look at me. I don't get involved in that. Okay, I don't get involved in that whatsoever. You presented something that was bogus. You presented something that was nonsensical, didn't make sense. You were used by Bay Street, all the white CEOs. You gave them a pass with this ridiculous scheme. Yeah, they signed it. Oh yeah, pat the back, wonderful. Okay, but it was absolute garbage, and it didn't work because it wasn't done for people, Black people, to help. It was done for your own personal aggrandizement. Okay, and we have too much of that in the community, right? And for me, again, it's how I choose to live my life. Okay, I write the articles because I want to, I have a business, I got family support, I got to do all. But I take people say, how do you find time to write the articles? Because I want to provide Black people with knowledge. And for me, that's the service that I believe is the most important thing. If you can give people knowledge, then they have a better shot than even if you give them money. Okay, because you can find the money, but the knowledge is the most intellectual property. Knowledge is the most important thing. So that is my contribution. And at the same time, I walk the talk. I am building to get into the software sector, to transition my business where we have software, which is going to be based on AI and all these things. And I'm doing it my way. So that's the only way I know. My way.
So let me ask, you're in the tech space.
Yeah.
How many melanated people do you encounter or know of right now that are, I'm going to use this word, actively?
Mm-hmm. None.
Wow.
Let me just hold on. That's too quick. Let me go to system.
Okay, yeah, I want you to think on that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one guy who's doing really well, and who's Andrew Bromfield, right?
Yes, I do.
So Andrew Bromfield is a software developer, and actually Andrew Bromfield is collaborating with Douglas Blackwell on my new software that's coming out, which is called AP3, Applied Intelligence AP3. So here's a guy who runs a software business transformation company, has built softwares for businesses, University of Toronto, some stuff in the US military that they're using, and he's built some software called My5. And basically My5 is a mentorship type of software, right? Now, for what is happening in our community with all these nonprofit organizations and whatnot, My5 should be the software by a Black developer. Okay, software is good, software is working, right? We should be supporting a guy like that with his software because it has many applications for some of the stuff that's happening in our community, right? But all we get, right? All we get, and I'm not going to mention any name, is another Black guy in the software business trying to steal this brother's software and trying to make it his own, and or not bring him to the table for some government grants or contracts and all that, which Andrew doesn't need. But that's who we are. What can I tell you, man? What can I tell you? That's
right.
I don't see guys out there, supporting each other in the space. Okay. I see a guy, obviously, well, big, I call him Big Chef, my boy, fellow Grenadian, Ray Williams. Yes, there's a guy that is walks the talk. Okay. And I call him Uncle Ray because, even though he's my boy and everything, he's like a role model because I see him doing it and he's genuine and he's authentic. Right. And we need more brothers like that. Right. And we don't, and if we can get together and copy the model of how the Jews do it and invest in each other, right? Because if we don't own anything, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who's actually works for a big one of the big bank investment firms. He's invested in my stuff. He's going to be doing it again, and he's going to actually work to put together some some of the Black brothers on Bay Street to come together to look at what I'm doing and all that. So my little world, we're doing that. But he said to me, the problem that we have, and another very high-ranking Black individual in the banking sector, I met him at an event. It was the UE event, right? At Ritz-Carlton. He said to me, "Yeah, Perry, everybody's bigging me up. I'm the head of this division or whatnot." But he goes, "I own nothing, right? I own nothing, right?" So for me, I used to work the big, RBC. I used to work, I was head Eastern Canada of UBS, the high net worth key client division. Clients had to have $30 million and over to, for me to deal with me and all that. If I stayed there, worked hard, potential to become the CEO of there. But no, I might not have that type of income coming in or that type of wealth, but I own something, right? I own something, and I will be having that type of wealth and more because I'm working towards something, right? And in order for us to do that, we have to take a position, take a stance, and work towards something. And most importantly, we have to work together because no one can get there themselves, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so just want to say we're going to end off this portion on Instagram Live. If you want to catch the full conversation on Instagram, on the full conversation, sorry, go to the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, which I've put in the comments. Also, you can read these two articles, The Problem with AI and The Problem with AI Part 2, on Perry's Medium site. And I've put the link in the chat on Instagram. So you have no excuse. You've got the information there. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. And again, come over to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can watch old conversations. So as always, remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And thanks for watching on Instagram Live. And also just want to jump in here. We have a great friend here. Dr. Tachi says, good evening. She's very much into the world of media, tech, and pop culture. She hosts a great conversation called Mediascope, which is live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live, and also does also a live version 6 p.m. on Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and other platforms. Dr. Tachi, as always, thanks for dropping by, and also is launching on OTT network
Oh,
in the
wow.
next month,
Congratulations.
independent on our own. Maybe someone you want to speak to and just find out what's going on, because I know
Absolutely.
I need some help. So I will certainly do that
Yeah, hook that up. Yeah.
introduction, because we're blessed that she's asked me, and I feel humbled to provide a lot of content for
Yes.
this network.
Yes.
So I will make sure I do introductions. And Dr. Touch, if you have any comments before we end this conversation, please. Want to come back to you, Perry.
Mm.
How critical is it that melanated people get involved in ownership of the AI world?
It's life and death, or let me maybe relevance or irrelevance. Well, think about it, right? The world functions on power, right? People get elected based on power and financial campaign contributions, right? So if you don't have money, then you don't have power, right? So I mean, I'm a kind of a loss for words, because I'll ask you the question: how else can how else? And I'm only asking you like that because how else can you do it? Because if I don't have a problem if I don't have I don't have all the answers for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, my answer is you have to own equity and you have to own businesses, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what else is there? And if you think we're going to achieve anything because you're making several hundred thousands of dollars working for a corporation, you have a fancy title, okay? Half of that goes to the government, okay? So you're like there's no power there. You're an employee, and you can be pulled at any time, right? But if you own a business, okay, you see, here's the thing. If you look at Elon Musk has inserted himself into the American conversation, not because he's the smartest guy in the world, because he definitely is not even, he's definitely not, but he has so much money and how so much, power, as my mother said, he can play the fool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he creates his influence, and he's making things happen. So it's not like it's good for society. But my point I'm trying to make: money and power run the world, okay? And if you don't have the money and power and the equity in terms of a business, then we're just fooling ourselves to think we're going to do it through nonprofit organizations or the government. Hasn't happened, won't ever happen.
Okay, so you asked me to answer this question, so I'm gonna respond in a number of different layers.
Sure. Yep.
First of all, I'm gonna use something that happened a few months ago, and
Okay.
this is I went with Roger Dundas, another
Yes.
gentleman, Charles Matthews. You may
Hmm.
know that name. We
Uh-huh.
went to a conference called Digital Day Camp,
Yep.
and it was a one-day conference put on by the Interactive Advertising Bureau of Canada,
Yep.
and it was a whole bunch of workshops all day long about the impact of digital on advertising.
Yep. Yep.
Heavy hitters from Loblaws, like Fortune 100 companies,
Yeah.
marketing people were there and all that. Last presentation we went to during the day was a gentleman named by Devin McDonald.
Hmm.
Mr. McDonald runs a company called, forgetting the name now. I'll forget. I'll put it up in
Yeah.
a
Sure.
second. But it's
Sure.
the largest Canadian independent media agency,
Okay. Wow.
right?
Hmm.
And he sat there, and one of his clients is Roku. No, bro, is it the
Roku's
reader?
the Japanese. Yeah. Yeah. Roku.
No, no, no. Is that the tablet? What's the? I don't know what the name. I can't remember the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, and he basically went to them and said, "Hey, we would like to do a media campaign for you
Hmm.
using AI, ChatGPT."
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said yes in a heartbeat. 10 seconds, they said yes.
Yep.
Incredible sharing session.
Yep.
Incredible. And
Yep.
and I'm not in that world, but it
Yep.
really impacted me on
Yep.
how critical it is for us to be there.
Yep.
After his presentation, I went up to him and said, "Hey, love this presentation. Best thing I saw all day. Would you mind coming on my platform and
Mhm.
talking about this?"
Yeah.
He said, "No problem."
Yep. Yep.
So I've had him on, and he's going to come back later on this year.
Yep.
So there's a number of things I want to share about this. First of all, it really hit my head on how important we need to be in that space.
100%, 100%, 100%.
Right? But second of all, I don't know if I could get, okay, let's say very few melanated people in a status of his in Canada would have said, I'll take you up on that conversation.
Yeah, yeah. That's the truth. You speak the truth. Like my grandmother say, it's the gospel. You speak the truth, man.
Right.
What you say is true.
Right. So it was just really eye-opening, that conversation to me. It just I just went, 100%. Wow, like we've got to find a way. Oh, he's the president of an organization called Carnes O'Neill, Canada's leading independent media agency.
Okay.
And he was also named the media leader of the year by Strategy Magazine in Canada.
Really?
Oh yeah. This guy, next level.
No, absolutely.
Next level.
Well, that's what we need. Well, the point of what you're saying here, right, is in line with what I'm saying. Well, you have ownership. You're doing your own thing. You're creating your own media. You're creating your own content, and now you are asking somebody to come on the platform and share their knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Share their knowledge, and if that guy is able to touch one person, right?
He already has.
Exactly.
He already has. Like
everything helps. Yeah. Everything helps. I'm not trying to say that there's the world. What I'm trying to say, at the center, the world circles around money and power, and that's what moves the world. That's what moves markets. So at the end of the day, no matter what, we still have to run businesses. However, what you just explained in that experience, we need more of that. But you're right. If you have that feeling inside of you that you don't know, if you ask another Black person of maybe that level, would they come on your show? And you're like, probably not. Probably because they may not own their own business. Probably because they might feel they don't want how other people view them, right? So there's a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we need more. We need more of what you just experienced. We need all hands on deck.
Yeah, I'm gonna add two more layers here. First of all, this is just Dr. Vibe.
Yeah.
People are watching this. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a capitalistic system.
Thank you.
All right. Even a nonprofit, you need money to run. Right. Right.
You say to me.
Okay. Second thing, even in the last 2 weeks, if you're paying attention to world events, there was a very significant thing that happened with the United States Supreme Court.
I did a YouTube talk on that.
Yes. And they have now said affirmative action is no longer appropriate with colleges and universities.
Yep.
Okay. People, just don't think that's going to affect colleges and universities. I have a funny feeling that you'll now see a lot of business in the US start pushing that. And so even more so, we've got to get involved in the technology game. And I'm not saying you have to own, but at least know of it.
You know,
and
what?
how you can implement it. Like, as I said, I'm not expecting people to know their ChatGPT, the basic is free. At least go try it out. Yeah. Like, I'm going to challenge anyone that's watching this live on the replay. Put in your favorite search engine, ChatGPT, and whatever product or service you're offering. It's all I want you to do.
Yeah.
It's all I want you to do.
You're right. You know, I'm going to go back to your comment on the Supreme Court. You are like, you should do a show on that.
Oh, yeah, one's coming. I actually,
you should.
By the end of the month, I have two. Actually, one of them is on here. Dr. Tachi is a professor at a university, and we also have another lady. I don't know if you know the name, Dr. Boyce Watkins.
I think I've heard the name.
Okay,
before.
Well, his wife,
Watkins. Yes,
his wife has her PhD in sociology.
Yes,
and they're going to come on and talk about the impact of this affirmative action, turning back from a Black college professor's lens.
Yeah, and you know what? It is what you said is, I think, is vital. It's not about colleges necessarily now and colleges, universities now, affirmative action. What it's about is that the direction it sets for businesses So what you're going to have in the corporate suites are, forget diversity, right? Because diversity, they'll make something up. Diversity is discrimination, right? It's very dangerous, right? Now, my thing to that is, this is why I'm saying, okay, you have to have equity and you have to have businesses. So on the other hand, while Harvard is fighting for affirmative action, okay, legacy admissions, okay, in universities in the United States, particularly Ivy Leagues, are huge. The majority of kids who get in to Harvard based on legacy admissions without the proper qualifications. Now that is discrimination and that is racism. So for example, you take a look at it, right? You look at Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump's husband. His father's a criminal. His father went to jail for 8 years. His father's a convicted felon.
Yes, he is.
He's a criminal, convicted felon, real estate fraud, and a whole bunch of other crap. He went to jail. But before he went to jail, he wrote a check for $2 million to Harvard. And Kushner got into Harvard. Now, if you've ever heard Jared Kushner speak, he's a dumb. Okay? But the father was able to write the check for him to, and now he's making billions. Like, it is insane. It is insane. If you've ever seen the show Succession, right? That show will tell you. I watch. My kids are getting to start watching it. If you watch Succession, okay, that is what it's like. As you got incompetence, fools running the universe. So if you see the last season, that is America. That is the White House. You got guys like that making decisions. So what is scary about this whole thing is, if you don't understand it's about money and power, you're not going to get it. So I want to see a day where, like why is George Bush president? How did George Bush get into Yale? Because of his father, money and power, right? So, I mean, we have to understand, if we don't, we want to be in a situation where, hey, our kids have an advantage. If I can write a check to Harvard and my son my kids are gone, but the tech millionaires and billionaires, real estate moguls, whatever it is, can write checks and get in. Why not? Why not? Right. But
I also want to jump in as we start to wind down the whole area of VCs and AI.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I'd like to get some of your takes on it. Obviously, I want people to read the article, but what are some of your takes when it comes to venture capitalists and AI?
Yeah. So what we have to understand, right? Venture capitalists are not looking to invest. The problem with it now is that they're not looking to invest in really great new ideas. They're looking to, it's a valuation game. It's a bogus valuation game. So more or less, I read an article in the Globe the other day that says, if you want to raise money, right, just say your business has something to do with generative AI, deep learning, or whatnot. So it's like, venture capitalists are looking for businesses that they can hype up, that's trending, like in AI, for example, and they can build a valuation and play the hot potato funder game so they can exit, pass it to the next funder and move on, right? So venture capitalists are also part of the problem. And the other part of the problem is, if the venture capitalists are all white guys, right? People are wondering, oh my God, it's impossible for a black person to get, trust me, I know, for a black person to get money from venture capitalists. Because when you sit in front of the venture capitalists and they're all white guys, they don't identify with you. There's no familiarity. What you believe is important to them is not important. If you believe in doing a business that helps society and helps with equity, inequities, social justice, whatever it is, your business has to do it. They don't want anything. They've never lived that experience. They don't have those same interests. So they're only interested in what's familiar to them. And that's why you have so many terrible startups happening. The success rate is like 95%. The failure rate is like 95%. That's why you have scams like Elizabeth Holmes with.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why you have scams with Sam Beckman-Fried with that cryptocurrency, because all the big names, even Sequoia, are jumping in. The guy was a scam. If a black guy is trying to push that, they'll be looking at him like, they'll be screening him. But if a white guy fits the narrative, here's the money. So the VCs are not a benefit to society, and the whole thing around VCs helping the economy, it's not true. Okay, there's tons of research on that, which I think I may have pointed out in one of the articles. I gave a book for reference. So you really, at the end of the day, to start, how did you start too, is you got to go within your own community. And our community, we have the problem, we don't have tons of capital. But if we
no. I'm going to politely
yeah, I
interrupt.
know you're probably right. Yes,
I disagree with that.
you're right.
I think we have capital, but we don't invest.
We don't invest. Yes, we don't
right?
invest.
Because you always hear the fact that the spending power of melanated people in North America is 1.3, is it trillion or billion dollars? I don't call it spending power. I call it investment opportunity.
Yeah, they don't invest. You're right. We don't invest. They don't invest.
Right. Honestly, so right now is a time
you have to invest.
And just a few, and just to catch in here, Ulysses saying to you, facts, you're spitting facts. And also Dr. Tachi says, yes, they're looking for folks in AI. It's definitely hot right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I'm in that game and I understand how it works. And you get resistance, but you got to, irrespective of the resistance, you got to get in, right? And you got to, and if you can't get in the front door, go. Michael Lee Chin used to tell me, you can't get in the front door, go through the back door, climb up a ladder, go through the window, get in, find a way. And that's really what I'm doing right now. For me, in my business, in the strategy space, there are no Black people. Even with my book, I've done the research. My book that I wrote in regards to the Renaissance in New Thinking, there's no Black authors in that space. It's only white authors with a neo-colonialism type of spin on things, right? We are not becoming leaders. We have to become leaders, create our own equity. How many Black guys are going into the software space in terms of developing, using AI, data science to develop strategy systems? Who are doing those things, right? It's so for me, as a human, yeah, sometimes it's discouraging, but that's not gonna stop me because I have a vision, I see the light, and no one's going to knock me off because of anything. I'm gonna keep going, and surround myself with like-minded people. But Dr. Vibe, you're so right. There is a lot of money, but we don't invest. We don't understand income. I'm gonna tell Black people, income is not wealth. Right? Income is not wealth.
I'm going to top you on that, Perry. I think in the in the world of melanated, the greatest form of wealth is the family.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And not all wealth is monetary. Monetary wealth is resources, knowledge, capacity to learn.
100%.
So many. So if you look at that 1.3 trillion, let's triple that.
No, 100%.
You really take about wealth investment area.
100%. And I think earlier in our conversation, you asked me about what we can do, and I started with the family.
Yeah,
the family is most important, and us particularly, both Black women and men, but us particularly as Black men, we have to understand the power of the family. It sets everything. We will have a lot less young Black males in trouble with the law. Mental health, fall into mental health and can't get the support they need unless we as a family, everything starts with the family. And I come from that type of family. So for me, it's always been that way, right? Education, entrepreneurship, individuality, all those things. But everything does start with the family, and it's about knowledge. And you're right. IP, intellectual property, is the most important thing. Because if I can fill my kids up with that, if I can help them, I'm giving them the best I can. And then at a certain point, they want to start a business, whatever they want to do it, and you have cash and they need help, give it to them, right? Give it to them. But the knowledge is king.
And applying it.
Applying intelligence, brother.
There you go. We're back to it again. So as we close up the conversation today, based on your 2 articles,
yes,
what are some calls to action you have for melanated people based on your two articles?
So the first thing I would say, all right, is look at everything skeptically. Okay? Put on your critical thinking hat. Don't accept things what people say. Do your or what's out there in the media. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions. Okay? That is the basis of everything. Be skeptical and think critically, and most important, apply your intelligence. But the second thing is we have to think long term. We are not, it's taken 500 years. People say 400 years, but if you look at the proper telling of history, slave trade and all that stuff, we 500 years has put us into this situation. By no means am I saying it's going to take 500 years, but it's going to take a generation only if we put the work in. So we, us fathers of children and whatnot, we have to be thinking about doing this not for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. When I look at it, what type of legacy do I want to leave? I don't want to be the generation where AI came along and opportunity came along and I sat on my hands. I'm not going to be that guy, right? So we have to think about, secondly, that this is a long-term thing. Okay, we have to educate our kids, have strong families, and we have to push towards entrepreneurship, and we have to push towards building businesses and equity, because equity and money is power. Okay, and without power, you can't do anything. Okay, it's as simple as that. And one more thing, right? You have to have power. Case in point, when I talked about the affirmative action case, my video that I did basically said, listen, Barack Obama won because Black people came out to vote, right? That's power, okay? But Joe Biden was flailing, and the tide turned for him in South Carolina when Black people inserted themselves and decided to vote. And, that's what moved Biden forward. So if you look at Barack Obama, you look at Biden, Black people have power in voting. But in 2016, Black people, I don't like Hillary. I don't like this. I don't like Hillary. So they didn't vote. What's the result? Donald Trump, America is thrown into madness, right? The democracy is being killed, okay? And you have 3 conservative justices. The Supreme Court is a political animal, okay? It's a political animal. Don't be fooled. Mm-hmm. You have 3 justices. That's changing the face of America, and where America goes, a lot of times the rest of the world can go too. Canada, certainly, because the Conservative Party here is already thinking along that particular line. If we had just done the same thing we did with Obama and in America, Obama and with Biden, and vote, the world would be a totally different place today. So what you said is key. It's about power, but you have to assert it. You have to apply it. So you have to go. So if your power is not money and businesses, and your power is in the vote, right? Go out and vote and assert that power, and the world would be a different place, right? So it's all about what you do, and it's all about what you do next.
All right. Well, fantastic, Perry. As always, thanks for sharing with us, taking time out of your schedule, being most importantly a father, a great Black man, a businessman, a tip of the spear individual, and we appreciate it. So a few things before we exit the conversation today. If you want to catch more of Perry's articles, including the 2 we lightly touched on today, but go into depth, there is where you can contact him via Medium. And I will actually go a little bit further. There's another thing I want to show that we mentioned it lightly, but I also want people to see Perry's books. So we're going to put it up on the screen. You go to Amazon, there's his book, Applied Intelligence, New Thinking for Caribbean Prosperity in the 21st Century. Just go to Amazon, put the title, and you will get the result and purchase the book.
Yep, thank you.
So that, no problem. So as always, Perry, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time again to share with us. I know you're going to be on a number of times. Perry has said, anytime you want me on, ask. So
Yeah.
I'm a greedy, not a needy person. So I would say this is why you got to follow the platform, because he'll be on a lot, because he has a lot of important things to say that you need to think about, and maybe some of them you need to take action. So Perry, thank you so much for taking time. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
All right, man.
Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
All right, family, there we go. Another great episode on the Morning Vibe. I was just saying the Morning Vibe on Black Canada Talking. I got too many conversations going on in my head. I host too many things, but you know what? That's okay, because I'm doing it for y'all. So I'm just trying to pull up something here before we take off. Okay, this is it. First thing, you can watch replays of Black Canada Talking at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. Also, we'll say it again. Got to make sure you do it. I'm going to put these things up. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you want to, always would love you to, please advertise your business or service on the Dr. Vibe Show. If you're interested, contact me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, and I'll give you the details. And finally, if you want to get in touch with me, there's a website address, the drvibeshow, email address, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter at drvibeshow, and Instagram at the drvibeshow. That's it. So, as always, I want to thank everyone who took time out of your positive, productive schedule to watch our conversation today. I got one more comment here. Let's just see. Dr. Tachi says, great show. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. I think I'll get you in contact with Mr. Douglas. I'm sure he'd like to have a conversation, just hear what you're doing down south. Well, globally, not just down south. So let's finish off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Remember to follow. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good, and we'll see you soon. Yeah. Listen.